Hello and welcome to another wonderful interview of HYPIA, Interviews with Hyperpolyglots. I'm the president, Dr. Usman Chohan, and today I have the Couch Polyglot, Laura, one of our wonderful, comparatively recent members with a wonderful smile and a wonderful personality. Welcome, Laura.
Hi, Usman. Thanks a lot for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys.
The pleasure is all ours. Let's talk a little bit about this wonderful hobby, Couch Polyglot, you have. What's going on with the channel?
Yeah, well, like I was telling you before, it just somehow started. Like I was really frustrated with the pandemic, and I'm a very outgoing person, so my life's changed suddenly, and I kind of didn't know what to do. And so I thought, well, I love languages. That's one of my biggest hobbies. So why not start a YouTube channel where I share my experience, my struggles, and also my success in some learning process, and also kind of help other people. So I had kind of like the feeling I want to help with Catalan, with Spanish, and then at some point I said, hey, why not help with German too? There are a lot of people who speak Spanish who are trying to learn German. So it just happened somehow. I think because out of frustration with the situation, and because I was seeing that I couldn't control what was happening. So I thought, if there's something I can control, is my own project. And also then I started learning Italian, and I thought, this is something I can control every day. Like I can learn Italian every day. Like that's in my hands. What's happening in the world is not in my hands, and I cannot do anything about it. So I'll just focus on that. So that's how it was born. Like one day I woke up and said, I'll create a YouTube channel. So that's how it happened.
That's wonderful. And a lot of people felt the need to explore things like this in the pandemic to exert a degree of control over their lives, which was exceedingly out of touch with them. But your channel has been quite a success. Many people follow it. What sort of feedback do you get from those people about hyperpolyglotism in your videos?
Well, I was very shocked that it was, well, I mean, it's not so big, but I got lots of feedback, and I actually was very afraid of, hateful comments or, so trolls. And I have to say that people have been so kind. I was overwhelmed by that. And what I was telling you before, so I see myself as a polyglot, but for me, it is really an honor to be part of the HYPIA project, HYPIA group, because when I see those people speaking, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 languages, and even, very exotic languages, I feel like, wow, what an honor that they let me be part of this, because like I speak 7 languages, 4 of them are Romance language, and so on. So, and that's fine, I don't have to speak 20 languages, but for me, I see myself as a polyglot, and being identified as a hyper polyglot is very interesting. Like it's a new thing to me. I'm just still kind of getting used to that idea. And yeah, people feel, I think, very excited about polyglotism in general. So I get lots of feedback of people telling me, yeah, keep going with your Russian or with Italian, or they tell me about their struggles and their stories in general. So it's really, really nice. I think what people also need sometimes is to see that it's really a process. So even if you're a polyglot, you forget words sometimes, and you mix it up, and
Yes.
you make a mess sometimes. So it's fine. And that's also why I was thinking a lot about the name of the channel, even though I created it in a day, but I kind of thought, what do I want to transmit with that, right? And my idea was to say, hey, you can become a polyglot, but still, enjoy it and chill and have fun and do it from your home, right? So that was kind of the idea. And so I think I what I try to do is try to give it this human touch and say, hey, let's relax. Like, you don't have to be perfect, and you just need to have fun with it and do a little every day. That's like the way I see it.
Mhm. This is wonderful because this is the attitude that we wanted at Hypia. The let's take it easy, let's relax, let's get along. You don't have to be perfect. It's that you're discovering something new, which is beautiful. And your YouTube channel is like that. By contrast, a lot of YouTube channels, if you browse, it's like very hardcore, intense people. They're like, look at my Russian today, papa. Did you see my Russian?
Yeah,
That kind of thing. And that really sucks because they're so intense about it, but it's like, did you see how good I am? And IPA is not about I
yeah.
am, it's how good we are, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. I what I love about Hypia is I'm, scrolling my WhatsApp and I'm seeing messages in Portuguese, in Swedish, in Esperanto, languages I don't speak and I would have zero contact with in my daily life. But then I get the chance to read them, and it doesn't mean I have to study them, but I get the chance to read them. This is just beautiful. I love that. So that's why I'm so grateful for being part of the group. Also, sometimes we used to have these weekly meetings on Zoom, and sometimes I felt bad I couldn't attend, but then I realized, hey, it's very chilled. If you can attend, you attend. If you can't, then you don't, right? And something very magical which happened, which I think is the first time in history of HYPIA. I actually met someone who lives in my hometown, not my hometown, like the town I live in now in Germany. And so we're meeting for multilingual tandem walks. So we just go for a walk and we're talking Catalan, Italian, Russian. It's magical. I love it. So yeah.
That's so cool. I think that is a rare thing because of the pandemic. Before, everybody had huge plans for Hypia. Let's all meet in New York. Let's meet in Buenos Aires, in Rio, and certainly many places in Europe. But the fact that you're doing this in these conditions and the fact that you're in the same city, it's a wonderful thing. I think it's so good to hear. I'm really happy about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, we live 5 minutes away from each other, right? And if you think about it, how many people are in Hypia? Like 200? Like, what are the chances? Um, so that was really fun to discover. And yeah, what I was missing, I think, in my life, I have great friends, great family, but I don't have like polyglot friends with whom I talk in several languages. Like, I studied translation, so I do know other polyglots, and we get along. We still chat, but we're only talking monolingually. Like, I never had a friend or a person with whom I just keep switching languages, and I think that's cool. Yeah, that was something which I didn't know, but it was missing in my life.
This is very interesting. You studied translation. I didn't know that. How was that studying experience and how has it helped you? Talk about that experience.
Yeah, well, I can also talk about, like, for me, of course I grew up in Barcelona, like close to Barcelona, so I already spoke Catalan and Spanish. Then at school I learned English, and then I didn't know what to do with my life when I was like 17. I was like, what should I do? And it's a little stupid how I chose my studies. Like, I had one of these information sheets, and I was looking at it, and I saw that in a certain university you were forced to go abroad on the second year. So, and I said, I like languages, why not? And so I chose translation, and then I had a year abroad, and so I thought, okay, I'll take English and French. But by then I wasn't planning on learning other languages. It just somehow happened. So while I was studying translation, I thought, well, if I'm going to be a translator, maybe I should learn another language, and I'll just go for German, because why not? And yeah, everything somehow randomly happened. So after my studies, I had the chance to go work to Germany for a year, like with an exchange program at the school. And there I met my now partner and husband. So, and he happened to be half German, half Russian. And so then I learned Russian. So it just kept happening. Like, I didn't plan this, but then with pandemic, I got my seventh language, which was Italian, because it was like my dream. It had been my dream for years. And I thought, now everything is not so like it used to be. So I might as well do something which motivates me every day. And then I started. Yeah, sorry, you ask questions, then I just completely talk about
That's
something else.
wonderful. That's wonderful. That's exactly what I want this interview to be, because we want to
Okay.
see the different aspects of your life and how polyglotism fits in. Usually, people looking at hindsight build a narrative. They say, this was my life experience, and so I planned this, and then this was done, and I did this. And you're saying, well, this kind of happened to me. And that's good because that's honest. Like things are happening and
Yeah,
happening, right?
it feels like my life has always been that way because yeah, everything I planned, it came differently. It's not supposed to be better or worse, but I studied translation, never worked as a translator, not one day in my life.
Hmm.
Because then I was in exchange in a school in Germany, so I was doing this, I don't know even know how it's called, but I was helping out in school with Spanish classes.
Hmm.
And I thought, well, then I guess I'll do a master's to teach Spanish. And after doing that, I worked at the university for 2 years teaching Catalan in Germany. There's a program for that. And then I said, what am I doing? Do I want to be a teacher? I didn't know, and then did something else. And now I'm still I'm working 40 hours. And then I was like, but I'm missing teaching. So I'll then open up the channel. So it just somehow happens randomly. Sometimes I'm like, why am I doing this? And then I just change. That's what's kind of random, yeah.
And do you want to explore languages outside the Indo-European family, go for bigger challenges in the future?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's something I ask myself quite often. I was thinking about learning, for instance, Japanese, but I then ask myself, why am I doing this? Like, do I want to prove something to myself? Do I want to prove something to someone else? I don't know. Like, one thing I really like about learning languages is when you start and you can very quickly say something. You can very quickly understand a lot. So I don't know. I imagine, I think it would be really cool. Like, let's say if I had all the time in the world, then I probably would, but I don't know. I think it might get too stressful. So I'd rather maybe learn Swedish, which I don't know. There's languages I really feel connection to for no reason, like really for no reason. Like, and I'm like, I might learn Swedish. Just I think it's because I see this connection with German, with English, and it feels like a challenge that I can go through. Like it's not something which is super difficult. And yeah, for instance, when I was studying translation and linguistics, and I had some programming. And programming is also kind of language, right? And it was super frustrating. I don't have this logical thinking, I think. And maybe that kind of gave me the impression that I should stick to languages that are similar. And I don't know, my problem is I want to learn lots of languages, but at the same time I want to still have fun.
Yeah.
And I want it to be chill. So that's always the thing, right? So I would love, maybe what I will do is take a 40-hour Japanese course so that I just know how it is and get the feeling and yeah. But I'm thinking, is it even worth it for me to learn such language if I'm just a little curious, right? So yeah,
That's
difficult.
true. Yeah, that's true. That's a very big debate in the mind. Is it, do you want to do something? Do you still want it to be fun? Because if you really want to do it, it's going to be a challenge, and that challenge creates frustration. Yet, you have learned languages that, for example, I would consider difficult. German is quite difficult, and Russian is quite difficult. Yes, it's Indo-European, but there's a lot of things in the Indo-European family. They're hard. Russian is hard, right?
Yeah, it is. But I think it does help. For instance, in my case, like the family of my husband speaks Russian. So when I went there and I said my first words, they were like, "Oh my God, you're so clever!" So and they're talking in Russian, so I hear it all the time. Well, not all the time, but several times a month, and it's so that makes it, I think, different because I have a connection to that, and like it makes sense in my life to learn it. And some of their relatives, they live in Russia, they don't speak English or German. If I want to ever talk to them, I need to speak the language. So I have a different motivation, I guess. Yeah.
That makes sense. You know, going through the experience of trying to prove something to yourself creates frustrations, but when, not if, but when you succeed, it feels like you have done something major in your life. It was a big journey. I did that
Yeah.
with a language that's not familiar to me. I did it with Chinese. I studied it for 3 years and then I went to China. Part of an exchange. It's a tough program. It's a joint program between MIT and Tsinghua. And so they're a top school, very competitive. It was economics. And I took a lot of courses that were in English and then a lot in Chinese too. So I went the extra mile and I was top of the class. Particularly, I was leaning
Wow.
on English more, of course, but it was enough to kick ass. And then when I left Beijing, I was like, yeah, who's the man? Who's the boss here? To myself, I don't go around saying it to people. Yeah, I put it on the record to this interview, but I don't go saying that to people. And that challenge, it was very tough. I mean, nobody cared that I was quietly in the silence of the night studying Chinese, but then I did it for myself. It's a story from that I
Yeah.
can share with you now and through this video with some
Yeah.
others now, but it's for me. I did prove something
Yeah.
to myself because it was, the real question was, can you get up and go to any society and thrive there? Just get up and go
Yeah.
anywhere in the world. So I said, yes, God damn it, I can. I just learned Chinese
Yeah.
and went to China of all places and did it myself.
But that's wow, that's amazing. But I think everyone needs to kind of decide for themselves. I was, reading a book. I don't even remember which book it was. I really also love reading, and there was a metaphor I really like. So there was this guy here, and he needed to swim through a river. It was kind of very difficult, and so on. And the guy said, you have to ask yourself, will you make it to the other side first of all, right? If you have an objective in life, and how will you make it? Like, will you arrive burnout, totally unhappy, or will it be like a nice challenge and you arrive, you're tired, but you're like, hey, I made it and it was worth it. So, and that's the thing, like, I don't see myself right now, I'm thinking about it, I don't see myself dedicating several years to a language, like making a big effort and then being like, well, I just needed, like, I was trying to prove to someone else, but I really myself, I wasn't that interested. So it's, it's lifetime. So yes, it's difficult. Because I think there's I really like your story. I think that's cool that you learned Chinese in that way and it was for yourself. But I think sometimes in the polyglot community, sometimes, I'm not saying but every time, but sometimes there's a little this toxic behavior, competitive, that
Definitely.
you feel like you're okay, but you're not a real polyglot, or so. And to me it's like, what's the point? Yeah. So I want to have fun, and also sometimes I think, well, I also have other hobbies, and I think it's important to, love yourself, accept yourself the way you are, and just think, okay, what challenge do I want to take, and why? And sometimes it's difficult to find out if it's your ego or if it's really what you want, So
Yes.
yeah.
When you frame it like that, you put it in a very clear sense because this toxicity that exists in the online polyglot community, I wouldn't tell you I hate it. I would tell you I fucking hate it. I fucking hate this because HYPIA is the opposite of that. That's why it was conceived and made, because the idea is not to compete, but to collaborate. So when you put it in that
Yeah.
sense, then I completely understand that is the spirit with which to engage with languages. Don't get into any of that. Are you a real polyglot? It's not the point at all. Actually, the point is to encourage. And that was the framing
Yeah.
of my question. Would you like to explore something more? Well, maybe, and that's nice.
I don't know. That's the answer. And I know for me it could be like this. I wake up next week and I'm like, I want to learn, I don't know, Greek, but it's because I'm more spontaneous, I think, like, and I stopped planning. Now with COVID, I even stopped even more planning because the world's changing and who knows what will happen in any kind of sense. So I'm just following kind of it sounds a little cheesy, but I try to follow my heart and yeah, see what happens.
And this is something that's reflected in your other activities, is it not? Because you have several different artistic pursuits and you dabble here, you dabble there. Painting, drawing, reading. Tell us about those.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even good at it or anything, but it just calms me down. Like I love painting, but I haven't like okay, I paint maybe once or twice a year. But I used to paint a lot more. I used to draw a lot more. Now my hobby is my YouTube channel. It does take a lot of time. And it's great. And I used to also write, and writing also helps me deal with stuff. So not long ago, someone in my family was very ill, and thanks God everything went well. But I then started writing again, because you somehow feel like you have to, I don't know, take it out of you. I don't know. And so yeah, that's a little what we were talking about before. That I think, I don't know if it's a blessing or it's more like an issue, that if you lots of things, then you don't get a certain proficiency on those things. So you might get good, but you're not proficient. But that's the same with the channel, right? So people ask me, hey Laura, why don't you just do like Spanish videos or Catalan videos? For me, this would be totally boring. I love doing different things, and I don't want it to be just that one thing. And the same with painting. Like maybe I'm painting today, but I won't paint for like 6 months, and that's okay. And that's like how I do stuff in general. Yeah.
No, but you know what's the real culprit in the background noise? Why we go through this problem? You and I are similar like that. We dabble in things. That's human nature. Primitive man, primitive, was very sophisticated, where he would dabble a little bit here and there. He would sing a little bit, hunt a little bit, do drums, whatever, dance a little bit. And that was human nature. And everybody would explore it a little bit, encourage each other. That's how small hunter-gatherer societies were. Then capitalism puts this guilt on you. When you dabble in this, they're like, yeah, but what's the point? Can you make money off that?
Yeah.
Oh, you have a Couch Polyglot channel. How's it going? Have you monetized it? Capitalism asks you to monetize it. And if you don't, well, you have only X number of hours to live. So you might as well do the most money-making thing. Capitalism has done this to you and to me.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I never thought about it that way, but yeah. And that's also something that is kind of annoying, people. So if I now were to start learning Basque, or I don't know, some language which I'm probably not very often going to use, but maybe interesting for me, right? People will kind of judge you like, why are you doing this? It's useless, right? But yeah, why are you playing soccer? It's useless. Are you going to play for Barca, or you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like anything you do can be useless. Not everything needs to be useful.
No, in fact, it wasn't meant to be. Human beings were not meant to have use, because use is instrumentalism, and it assumes that the human being is an object that has to produce things of value. And if it's not producing value, then it's dysfunctional and it shouldn't be doing it. So your interest in a minor language is fruitless because it doesn't produce a fruit. That's the problem. Actually, the point was for you to explore all of the planet around you. That's the whole point.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the beauty of learning languages, because you just get to, I feel like you get to kind of have different lives even. Like every time you learn a new language, you see the world in a different way, and it opens the world up for you. So now I can watch, I don't know, films in Italian or in Russian or in French, and you see the world in a different way. You're not like that. You're kind of more open, yeah.
Yes.
So
Exactly. It's like traveling, right? You're traveling in the mind outwards. You can sit on the couch, Miss Couch Polyglot. You sit on the couch and travel. Traveling. There's this Islamic sailor who's very famous for his travelogues from the 13th century, I think, and he would say traveling. First, it leaves you speechless, and then it makes you a storyteller. The language traveling is similar. First, you are speechless, but then you become the storyteller in that language. That is true traveling. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah.
And so what are some of the other things you have done during the pandemic other than languages? So there's drawing a little bit, there's reading a little bit, there's writing a little bit. How else do you spend the time?
Well, I was working. I was working full time. Yeah, and was walking a lot. I was lucky enough, like here in Germany, it's quite strict, but still, there was never a time where you couldn't go out. So I live in a small town, and I went walking just because yeah, actually, before I decided to study translation, I was very much into sports. So I'm a very active person. Right now, I'm just, jogging or walking, and like I'm not doing much, but I need the movement to just feel good. Like, yeah. So I was moving a lot, and yeah, but I didn't have that much time. Like I was also, well, like working 40 hours, then doing the channel, yeah, being with my family as much as I could, talking on Skype, and yeah, I wasn't drawing that much or painting that much, but a little. So yeah, what else did I do? I don't know. I started reading my first book in Russian. That was one of these challenges I started thanks to the YouTube channel. That's what also I like about the YouTube channel, that it makes me, yeah, I wouldn't say it makes me better. It sounds a little weird, but it makes me do things like, it makes me commit publicly to doing things like learning Italian every day, or yeah, reading a page of Russian a day. Yeah, that was actually one of the influences I got from a book I read last year, which was great. I don't know if you know it. It's called Atomic Habits.
I don't know it.
It's great. Yeah, no, it's Atomic Habits, Tiny Changes, Remarkable Results. And the idea behind it is, if you do something every day, even if it's 10 minutes, you can have amazing results. But people in our society, they want immediate results, right?
Yes.
You want to learn, you see these videos, I learned Spanish in a week, and things like that. And no, actually, you should just have very small objectives every week, and then you learn a little every week. So I'm just fascinated by that idea of doing a little and then it sums up. Yeah.
I think this is a very good advice for language learners in general who haven't read the book Atomic Habits. I do subscribe to your channel, and what I'm going to focus on is your Italian videos, because here I'm publicly committing, so I'm screwing myself. I want to learn Italian, but I'm doing it in a passive way. So there's this thing called Fallout 4. It's a video game. But it's a very beautiful story. It has 100,000 lines of dialogue in the game. 100,000.
Wow.
So it basically covers any conversation. And I've played this game in English. I finished the game 30 times in the past 5 years. That's my
Wow, but
way.
is it like a fun game, or is it just to learn language?
It's a fun game. It has a beautiful story. It has a lot of action, violence. It has it's an open world thing, so you can be your own master in that way.
Oh,
And
nice.
it's very beautiful, and it has a deep message about society, because this is 200 years after society has been destroyed by nuclear war. So people building a new world, and it's really hard to build. This crime, there's rape, violence, everything. So it's a very tough world to rebuild. But the point is, with 100,000 lines of dialogue, I know I've played it 30 times. I know exactly what they're saying. I could just switch the language settings to Italian, and that's what I'm doing. So passively, I'm playing it again, and I'm listening to them, and I know exactly what they're saying, and they're saying things in a casual context. It's like people talking.
Yeah, but you speak perfect Spanish, so it won't be hard to learn Italian, I think.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking a little bit like you do, and you were saying before that don't want to take anything too big as a challenge right now. I am getting older. My neuroplasticity in the brain is declining. And so I did set myself big challenges. I mentioned Chinese as one, but I'm over that. I don't really need to prove anything to myself anymore. Now I just want to have a little bit of fun. So I'm becoming more like you with time.
Yeah, that's good. And also, now that you mentioned that, I love games, so I play games as well, and I do switch the language as well. So I feel sometimes it's a little like cheating, so I want to just relax, and then I say, yeah, but I'm playing in Italian, so it's totally useful. But we're back to the thing of, why should we also be doing useful things all the time, right? But yes, it's like a combination. You're just having fun, and I also have fun learning languages. So, but I think if you're gonna learn Italian that way, it's like using the natural approach, right? Oh wait, sorry, Sorry.
That's fine.
So I've been using the natural approach for Italian, which meant for me listening to 10 minutes a day, every day, no excuse. And that's it. That was what I had to do.
Hmm.
And it has helped a lot. And over time, if I had more time because I liked it so much, I would listen more. But I mean, I think 10 minutes is doable. And it's if you're playing the game, so they're talking or is it only reading?
Both. There are subtitles in it, but they are
Okay.
talking. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's like using the natural approach. It's great.
And I'll get there
Yeah,
and I won't even realize it. That's the beauty of this approach, right? Because one day you'll be
yeah,
like, what the? I just said that. And that's amazing.
yeah. Just because it's your brain, it's kind of filtering that, and then it just figures out the grammar and the vocabulary, and so it's beautiful. It's really really cool. Only now after 1 year I started having a tandem, so I'm talking to someone in Italian, but which is also nice. But I was learning very passively for the last year, and I did learn a lot.
Hmm.
Um,
Do you mix up your Spanish and Italian when you speak? Do you quickly refer to the Spanish word? That happens to me.
that's my biggest fear. um, let's put it that way. It used to happen more. So the more you listen and the more you speak, the less it will happen. But I think it will always happen. I
Hmm.
even mix sometimes. I grew up bilingual, but I mix Catalan and Spanish. So like not all the time, but sometimes there's a word when like, hey, how's it in Catalan, or how is it in Spanish, or even I've been living in Germany for 10 years, so I'm thinking in German, and then I'm thinking, hey, what's the word in Spanish at all? And this will always happen, but the more you listen to, I think the less it will happen. So at the
Yeah,
beginning, it will be a mess.
that's true. Now, one advantage of globalization is actually that it's made some languages more fashionable, particularly English. So, what I've done with languages sometimes is simply you don't know the vocabulary. So you just put in the English word and it's kind of like the hip thing, like you're a Californian guy. Like it happened a lot in China because you would be like a cool guy because you didn't know the fucking word in Chinese. So you just throw a lot of English in there. And it's also a function of post-colonialism. So in
Mm.
my country, where I am right now, Pakistan, people have a tendency to put half the sentence in English and half the sentence in Urdu without realizing it. That's colonialism, right? Because they
Oh,
haven't been set free. The chains are that. And the official language of this country is English. The national language is Urdu. So because of that, people have actually, if you say, "Hey, don't use a single word of English and talk to me," and they would actually really struggle because it's so embedded. So globalization and
wow.
colonialism make some things fashionable over others. And so that's a trick we can use as polyglots. Just throw a lot of cool
Yeah.
slang in English and you get away. It's a shortcut.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, somehow you have to communicate, so somehow you'll make it. The only thing about the natural approach, which is a certain limitation, is, for instance, okay, I'm watching lots of videos, but there are topics they never talk about. So if I now go to a restaurant, I would have to study first, like what's the vocabulary to use there, because I haven't been watching any videos about people going to the restaurant. So but still, I mean, it's like a small limitation, and for me, I have lots more fun, so it's it's totally worth it to use the natural approach, in my
Uh,
opinion. Yeah.
good advice. And it's true, this is a limitation. Here's an example though. That video game I mentioned, Fallout 4, there's at least like I just think of it 4 or 5 places where you can order food or trade or
That's good.
order things. Like everything is covered. The romance is covered,
That's good.
commerce is covered, violence is covered, everything is covered. 100,000 things.
You gotta write me later the name of the game. I'm yeah. Right now I'm also I'm playing on Steam. So and well now I'm playing Final Fantasy, but
Mm.
I love games, and it's also something that has helped me during the pandemic. I think it has gone up. Like people are playing a lot more now.
Oh yeah. But the
What should
other
we do, right?
but the other thing is, so you have a good reading habit and you have games. You also watch movies. I don't watch movies. I watch my quota is 2 movies per year. And so
Wow.
that's it. Because so I had no Netflix. I've never had Netflix because I know it'll be the end of me. I'll die just being addicted.
Yeah, it's a problem. But well, I'm watching a series right now, but it's just sometimes like that. So sometimes I'm watching something, but sometimes I'm not. And films, I don't watch that many films, but maybe one a month or something, because I feel like a series engages you more, so you know the characters and so on. But I try also to watch at most 2 episodes, because I also see it as, it just absorbs your attention, but is it quality time? So I think one episode or two is okay, but I used to have that where I watched one series in 2 days, right? And this is bad. Like, you should value your time, so that, okay, one episode or two, but not all the time. Yeah.
So what language are you playing Final Fantasy in? English?
Let me think. I think they speak in English and the subtitles in German. This time I haven't made a point to choose another language, but I played, which one was it? I played 2 games in Italian, and it did help.
There you go.
I tried to play one in Russian, and it wasn't good. Like, my Russian wasn't good enough, and it was a game, I don't remember the name, but it was very important to understand every single detail.
Yes.
So in Italian, it was fine, because even though my Italian was, more new or something, but of course I could understand a lot. And Russian, I changed it. So I think it's important that it's fun, right? If you're struggling while playing, I don't know.
No,
Everyone has to choose for themselves.
That's true. I mean, if the language is so distant and you cannot use deduction anymore, then it doesn't work. So, for example, I used to study Russian, and I tried to play StarCraft in Russian. You can't do it. You can't. And then I said, well, let's try Chinese. And obviously, that's all characters. The information is ideograms. Okay, I'm finished. So it doesn't work. That's too much.
Yeah. So yeah, if it's a language you are already kind of familiar with, then go for it. Or it depends. Some games have almost no dialogue, then it's okay, I guess.
Yeah, true.
Like, they might be saying this. It's more mysterious.
Sure. Now, you've been a part of HYPIA for a little bit of time. What is your opinion of it, and how do you suggest it should evolve in the future? Give some advice.
Well, like I said, I like the fact that it doesn't force you to do anything. Like, you're not forced to participate in the Zoom calls, even though they're wonderful. And you're not forced to do anything, basically. So it just has advantages, and it just gives you the chance to meet other people. And what I like is this passive reading in other languages, and sometimes people also may tell something. So maybe they tell, okay, in Japanese this works like this, but they tell you in English, so it's also kind of interesting. How it should evolve, I don't know. Like, one thing that one person was commenting the other day, which I think was good in the WhatsApp group, is, okay, when we have a WhatsApp group, the problem is that you receive maybe 100 messages a day, so it's kind of crazy. So there's no thread, right? So if you had some other format, like a Facebook group or some other platform, then you would have different threads. But then, so then probably you just choose the languages you already know. I don't know. So it's difficult. I think the group is growing a lot, and we have to just observe how it's evolving. Like, I love it. But because I think for some people it might be stressful. If it depends on how you think of messages, right? If you're thinking like, I have to read everything, then it will be quite stressful. But when I started, I was a little overwhelmed. They were like, oh my God, they're writing so much, I cannot follow. But then at some point I was like, well, if I feel like it, I'll read it. If don't feel like it, I won't, and that's okay.
Good. Yeah, because I'm obsessive about messages. I have to answer quickly, and I do. So I'm actually not part of the idea WhatsApp group because I can't take it.
That's funny. Yeah.
I'm not a part of it. I'd go nuts because I use WhatsApp for my work and so on. So I answer quickly, and if there's all this stuff, then I'm like, oh, whoa, hey, easy, man. And so I'm not a part.
That's really funny.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's very good advice. It was so wonderful to talk to you, Laura, get to
Thanks.
know you a little bit better. And I'm sure that the people, HYPIA members and aspiring HYPIA members, will appreciate the honesty and the candid nature of your approach. It's very positive.
Okay.
I am going to
Oh,
put the link
thank you.
of Couch Polyglot in this video as well, because I think it's a wonderful channel. I will use it for Italian, as I said. So thanks so
Cool.
much, Laura.
Yeah, thank you for having me here. It was great.
See you later.